Kim, and Miss Sally and I are going to tell you a wonderful story today. It's called Daniel in the Lion's Den. Are you ready? Let's get ready.
Long ago, there was a boy named Daniel who had to leave his home in Judah and live in Babylon in exile. Daniel prayed to God 3 times every day. He knew that God loved him and would be with him, even though he was far from home. The king of Babylon took good care of Daniel. Daniel went to school and was very smart and sensible. God watched over him and helped him learn many things. Daniel obeyed all God's commands, and he kept the 10 best ways to live. Daniel grew into a strong, healthy young man. Daniel was a good worker and gave the king good advice. He was the king's favorite helper. Daniel always remembered God. He prayed to God 3 times a day at home. Daniel knew God would give him the wisdom to help the king. The king knew Daniel was honest and wise. He let Daniel help him rule the land. And everything Daniel said, the people had to do. Some of the king's other helpers soon grew jealous. They tried to find something to make Daniel look bad, but he didn't do anything wrong. He was honest and true and obeyed all God's commands. He kept the 10 best ways to live. The jealous helpers knew that Daniel prayed to God every day, so they decided to trick the king into getting rid of Daniel. The helpers told the king to make a rule that no one could worship anyone but the king, and if they didn't obey the rule, they would be thrown into the lion's den. The king thought that was a good rule, but he didn't know that his helpers were trying to trick him. Daniel heard about the law, but he continued to pray to God 3 times a day, just as he always did. When the king's helpers saw Daniel praying, they ran back to the king and told him that Daniel was disobeying the rule. The king was very upset by this trick. Daniel was his favorite helper, so the king tried to find a way to save him. Sadly, the king had to agree to the punishment, and Daniel was thrown into the den of starving lions. As the guards got ready to throw Daniel into the den of lions, the king said, "May your God, whom you faithfully serve, keep you safe." Then they covered the opening of the den. The king was so worried about Daniel that he wouldn't have anything to eat, and he couldn't sleep all night. As soon as it started to get light early the next morning, he hurried to the den and called out, "Daniel, are you all right? Did your God save you?" He must have been very surprised to hear Daniel's voice reply to him, "Yes, my God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths, and they haven't even touched me. That's because I never did any wrong to you, and I haven't done any wrong to God." The king was so happy to hear Daniel that he got the guards to pull him out immediately. Then he ordered the jealous helpers to be punished. Afterward, the king made a rule that everyone should obey Daniel's God, for he is the one true God who lives forever. His kingdom will never be destroyed. From that day on, Daniel lived in peace. I wonder how Daniel felt when he had to move far away from home. I wonder if it was hard for Daniel to keep the 10 best ways. I wonder how the king felt when his favorite person broke his rule. I wonder if Daniel was afraid in the lion's den. Daniel prayed 3 times a day. I wonder what he prayed for.
Now it is time for you to get out some paper and some crayons and markers or art supplies and create something that is about the story. Thank you for joining us today. Bye.